Alright. My name is researcher Rowe Lucian, and today I'm going to be talking about SCP-1374. Item number: SCP-1374. Object Class: Keter. Special Containment Procedures: the entirety of the documentation of SCP-1374 is to be kept within Site-23 until further notice. Site-53, Site-95, and Sector 15 are all currently infected with SCP-1374. All personnel working at these facilities are to be made aware of SCP-1374. Furthermore, all documents at these areas must be triple-checked by at least 2 different personnel for inaccuracies. Additionally, personnel may request a transfer out of these sites. These requests must be approved by at least 3 researchers with Level 4 clearance, as well as the site director of the area. Description: SCP-1374 is a text-based phenomenon that appears to specifically affect at least 5 structures used for human interactions with anomalies at any given time. Within these affected buildings, persons that have worked with anomalous objects as defined by Foundation Protocol 01 Black for a time period greater than 1 year will randomly encounter SCP-1374 within the structure. SCP-1374 will manifest as short sentences or phrases and will appear through a variety of media, including spray paint on walls, handwritten notes, and inserted sentences in official reports. The phenomenon only affects buildings that actively interact with anomalous objects. If a structure infected with SCP-1374 becomes inactive or ceases work with anomalies for time periods greater than 10 days, SCP-1374 will no longer affect that building and will begin manifesting in a different active site. Footnote 1. Research shows that once SCP-1374 stops manifesting within a structure and transfers to a separate place, it will not re-manifest in previously infected areas, even if they become active again. Furthermore, the nature and tone of SCP-1374's messages appears to vary widely between structures. Due to this, it is currently speculated that 5 iterations of SCP-1374, hereby designated SCP-1374-A through -E, are responsible for these infections. Additionally, each iteration appears to favor a specific group of interest, and will reappear in a different structure used by the group if an infected building becomes inactive. See Addendum 1374-Alpha for greater detail. 3 out of the 5 sites known to be infected with SCP-1374 are controlled by the Foundation. The other 2 are under the jurisdiction of Group of Interest 016, Global Occult Coalition, and Group of Interest 132, Marshall Carter and Dark, Limited. Addendum 1374-Alpha, SCP-1374-X, SCP-1374-A. Location: Site-53, controlled by the SCP Foundation. Description: manifested writings are harshly critical and frustrated towards Foundation personnel and procedures. Example: taken from the documentation of SCP is to be kept in Humanoid Containment Chamber 423 at all times. Because that's obviously the smart thing to do, right? Make it angry at you? God. Why isn't everyone dead yet due to your buffoonery? SCP-1374-B. Site-95, controlled by the SCP Foundation. Manifested writings are supportive and encouraging towards the Foundation's endeavors. Taken from the documentation of Incident Report Row Omega. Was killed during the recovery of the object. But this doesn't mean we should stop trying. People live, people die, but that's okay. It's all for the greater good. John, trust me. Don't let this scare you. You'll be fine. SCP-1374-C. Sector 15. Controlled by the SCP Foundation. Manifested writings are malicious, vindictive, and condescending. Taken from the documentation of SCP-96. Weekly checks for any cracks or holes are mandatory. There is to be absolutely no video surveillance or optical tools of any kind inside SCP-96's cell. As such, personnel must physically enter the entity's cell at least 1 time per week in order to check that SCP-96 remains in containment. SCP-1374-D. Warehouse 24. Controlled by Group of Interest 132, Marshall Carter and Dark, Limited. Manifested writings are highly critical of extravagant and wasteful lifestyles. Taken from the documentation of which will satiate your needs, without making you go out of your way to help anyone else. What a wonderful product for a horrible person. Master Marshall would surely cordially invite you to purchase this item just to give it away to someone more deserving, but you wouldn't do that, would you? SCP-1374-E. Redacted. Controlled by Group of Interest 16, Global Occult Coalition. Both the description and example of this entity are unknown. Addendum 1374-Gamma. Every 5 years on December 31st, all iterations of SCP-1374 will manifest the following message to all eligible subjects within the affected sites. You can't let a little talk distract you. You have the fate of the world in your hands. Don't let it get to your head, whatever it is. Because you know what? If you can't handle this, you shouldn't be here. Just remember, this is a test. This is only a test. Incident Log 1374-Theta. On April 6, 1995, SCP breached containment after displaying previously unknown anomalous properties, including resulting in the transformation of 63 personnel into instances of SCP-G, along with the loss of 71 SCP objects. Footnote 2. This was the same SCP object that was used in the example of SCP-1374-A's messages. Additionally, Site-95's Euclid Wing 17 experienced a security systems failure, resulting in the release of 7 Euclid-class anomalous objects, one of which had been classified as a Type Red metamorphic replicating entity. 4 have been recaptured, but the aforementioned entity breached containment and is currently at large. MTF Theta 24, aka Polygraph Team Attack, has been dispatched to investigate and capture all possible instances of the escaped objects. On the same day at Sector 15, SCP-1374-C manifested information regarding causing the widespread propagation of the info hazard. The following day, at all sites infected with SCP-1374, each respective iteration of SCP-1374-X generated message manifested for all eligible personnel within each site. The following is a transcription of the messages. SCP-1374-A. See? What did I tell you, you oafs? I swear, sometimes you could stand to learn a thing or two from those GOC meatheads. And then you didn't even handle it well. You screwed it up regardless. Really, if you can't even handle a small like this, what are you going to do when the big one comes? SCP-1374-B. Oh dear, I'm so terribly sorry. I really thought you were ready for this. I never thought it would end up like this. It's all my fault. Don't feel bad about what happened. We'll just keep trying, and eventually, I'm sure that you'll be more than prepared for when it comes. Keep trying. Don't be discouraged. I believe in you. But you are going to have to do better than that, sweetie. SCP-1374-C. You don't stand a chance. Incident Log 1374-Xi. Foundation agents pursuing several known members of Group of Interest 55, Chaos Insurgency, encountered a new iteration of SCP-1374 in an abandoned factory that the group had been using as a base of operations, which has since been designated SCP-1374-F. The writings found at the location have been characterized as being anxious and nervous. Footnote 3. Commonly found phrases were "please help us," "he's coming," and "you can protect us," with the exception of the message found on the northmost wall of the room housing a large generator, which read "go away." Approximately 5 seconds after Foundation personnel entered the room housing this message, the chamber's walls collapsed, causing the loss of 4 agents. When personnel continued to pursue and track these individuals, they encountered events similar to the previous incident, in which rooms housing certain SCP-1374 messages collapsed after Foundation personnel entered. Due to this, agents were unable to successfully keep up with the Chaos Insurgency members. Head Researcher's Notes.
Due to the events described in Incident Log 1374 Theta and Incident Log 1374 Xi, it appears possible that SCP-1374 has anomalous control of the structures in which it is located outside of the manifestation of textual anomalies. The extent of the control is unknown. As such, personnel are to maintain extreme caution while operating in a location known to be infected with SCP-1374. Head Researcher, Leonard Lagrange.
Incident Log 1374-Chi. On May 12, 1995, Foundation Surveillance reported that Warehouse 24, owned by Group of Interest 132, Marshall Carter and Dark Limited, and infected with SCP-1374-D, was vacated by the group. Foundation agents covertly followed the members of the group to MC&D-owned Auction House 53. Investigation of Warehouse 24 revealed the corpses of 3 persons, with each body having the phrase, "Those with no heart cannot truly bask in his power when he comes. I've tried talking to you, but apparently that's not enough," cut into various areas of their skin. MTF Tal 9, aka Upper Class Spy Cats, is currently searching for the new location of SCP-1374-D. Addendum 1374-Mu. Personnel have noted that SCP-1374-A through SCP-1374-C's messages have taken on a frantic, nervous quality since, on the same date as the... Specifically, SCP-1374-A has begun issuing harsher criticism of the containment procedures of an unprecedented number of SCP objects, most of which were humanoid, metamorphic, memory-affecting, adaptive, cognitohazardous, or extra-dimensional, as well as writing out most of its messages in all capitalized letters. SCP-1374-B began utilizing the ability it demonstrated during Incident Log 1374-Theta at least once per week, manifesting various forms of encouraging phrases while personnel attempted to recontain the objects. Footnote 4. Since this incident, Site-95 has been gradually transporting its contained objects to other sites as well as increasing the number of personnel assigned to site security. However, at no time are less than 25 anomalous objects to be held within Site-95. SCP-1374-C ceased altering SCP documents in overt and obvious ways. Instead, it has begun altering minute but important details about these objects. Additionally, it has been noted to include an increasing amount of subtle memetic and informational hazards in its messages. As such, the rigor of the checking of the validity of all documents within Sector 15 has been increased. These behaviors became more and more frequent over time. During this period, Foundation researchers proposed a possible link between the increased and extreme actions of SCP-1374 and the non-anomalous series of... However, no link between the two has been established. Addendum 1374-Pi. The following message manifested in all locations infected with SCP-1374 on... Footnote 5. Notably, this was the same date as the disturbance and... Well, you took the test. You failed. We'll try to handle this by ourselves. Subsequently, all locations previously known to be infected with SCP-1374 ceased manifesting anomalous messages. After 30 days, SCP-1374 was declared neutralized. Addendum 1374-Omega. On 5 months after SCP-1374 was declared neutralized, SCP-1374 re-manifested in all previously infected areas. However, a new iteration of the anomaly appeared rather than any recorded instance of SCP-1374-X. This iteration is uniform across all infected areas and only manifests Arabic numerals. The numbers in SCP-1374's messages decrease at a constant rate over time. The significance of this is unknown. However, all manifested numbers are roughly equal between the structures at any given time. Alright, that's all I have to say about this subject. Thank you all for watching, and a special thanks to all my patrons. If you want to help support this channel, go ahead and visit my Patreon for early access to videos, skip recommendations, and other Patreon benefits.